Good morning, pastors.
Morning, Greg.
Morning.
How are you guys doing? So we're still in Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? We're going to be here until
Jesus comes back.
Until Jesus comes
Yeah.
back. It's going to take a while. There's a lot of verses in Genesis.
Yeah.
And there's still the going joke around church about how it took a whole sermon to do one verse.
Yep. Since then, we've moved a little bit quicker.
A little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Even our community group every week talks about that. And then we spent, I think it was an hour and a half in community group on one verse.
Yeah.
So
you can see how it's easy to do.
Yeah.
it is easy to do. So this week, why don't we talk about God created man, put him in the garden, and then he basically said it's not good to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
You just preached it, so
Yep.
it's got to be fresh.
Yeah, Genesis chapter 2. We've kind of talked about how it seems to be a zoom in on day 6 of creation. And so when you read Genesis chapter 2, it's somewhat going back into day 6 of creation, in which God created male and female. We see that in Genesis 1:26 through 28, that he created male and female in his image. In his image he created them, and then gives them the command to be fruitful and multiply. So you've got male and female there. Well, Genesis 2 begins with only Adam, only male. And it's as you get through Genesis 2 that you see the creation of woman. And so it seems to indicate that Genesis chapter 2 is, as I've already said twice, is going back into Genesis 1, giving us a little bit more context for what day 6 entailed as God created male and female.
So I was thinking about this a little bit the other day. So God created man, then he named all the animals, kind of worked a whole day, and then God made female, and at first glance it seems like he made a mistake and forgot to make the mate for Adam. But then thinking about it, it's like there is no mistake here.
Yeah.
Was he trying to show Adam everything first and show him
Yeah.
basically there is nothing equivalent?
Yeah.
And then he made the gift of a woman
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
do you think?
it seems like God is wanting Adam to recognize his need. God says in chapter 2, I think that's verse 18, it's not good for man to be alone. And it doesn't seem like Adam has really come to that realization yet. And right after Moses says that in Genesis 2:18, it talks about God bringing the animals before Adam to name them. And it's in that it says that plays out that Adam realizes there is no helper fit for him. And so I've heard people talk about something very interesting, that if Adam was this hominoid of evolution, and he was just a few steps away, he would have been close enough to evolving from some kind of animal that maybe he could have settled with one of the animals. If he's just this mere product of evolution, which is not the case, then maybe he could have found a helper fit for him, because he would have just only been just a couple steps out of the evolutionary process of where he would have just left being some kind of animal creature. But no, Adam was completely distinct from all the animals. And there was nothing that he saw that was fit to be a helper for him. And so I think it's it's how God chose to operate. He saw that Adam needed a helper. Adam didn't see it yet. God showed Adam his need, and Adam then realized it. And so it's just I think it's a really interesting way to even communicate grace. Even as we come to a knowledge of our need for grace, it requires, as we talked about Sunday, God to open our eyes to that reality. And I think God is opening Adam's eyes to a reality that Adam doesn't quite recognize, and then God being the one to supply that. I think it's so foundational for our understanding of all of Scripture.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. I mean, you look at all of the animals that were created, even Adam, every one of them was brought up from the earth, was brought up from dirt.
From dust, yeah.
Yeah, from dust, except one, and that's woman. That God doesn't build her up out of that. So it's like what you're saying. You have all these different creatures brought up from the dirt, brought up from the dust, but then God says, no, this one is specific to you. I'm going to pull her out of you and create her. There's just this very evident stated fact that these two go together.
Yeah.
That they are made for each other, and this is good.
Yeah.
That there's no other like her because she came from you.
Yeah.
There's something unique in that God sees what you're saying. God sees Adam's exact need, and he provides for that exact need in the exact way that he needs it.
Yeah. And remember, even before God commands Adam and Eve in chapter 1 to be fruitful and multiply, before he does that, that's what he commands the animals. He tells the animals to be fruitful and multiply. There's no fruitfulness and multiplication without the two sexes, right? And so it seems that one of the ways in which God showed Adam his need was as he was naming the animals, there were male and female animals. There were animals able to fulfill that mandate to be fruitful and multiply. And so I think it's right for us to assume that part of Adam's sense of need was not just his loneliness, but how am I going to fulfill what God has told us to do in multiplication? The animals have their partners. I don't have my partner to fulfill this mandate to be fruitful and multiply. And so I think that's an interesting point to notice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. So,
and I think the creation of the animals and that command to be fruitful and multiply the animals, that was at the beginning of day 6.
I don't remember.
I can't remember if that was day 5 or day 6.
128. Is that right?
No, it's higher up. 128 is where he tells man and woman to be fruitful and multiply.
That's right.
But further up in the text in Genesis 1, he tells animals to be fruitful and multiply before any conversation about the creation of man from dust.
Okay.
Or man in the image of God. Yeah.
So in this, he says, it is not good to be alone. Gives Adam a wife. Why is it not good to be alone? And you kind of touched a little bit, real briefly on this when you preached about it, of the fluffy animals. Why can't you just have a fluffy cat or a dog and that be good enough?
Yeah.
Or why can't you just be a hermit and live by yourself?
Yeah. Well, man and woman are the two beings that are said to be made in the image and the likeness of God. Part of understanding all of that is, what does it mean to be made in the image and likeness of God? I think part of that is relationship. Part of that is that God himself is a relational being. And when we say God, we're Trinitarian people. We believe in Father, Spirit, Son. We believe in the Trinity. And so even among the Godhead, there's relationship shared. And so as humanity reflects that, as humanity images who God is, I think foundational to that is realizing that man is a relational being just as God is. Now, does that mean that you can't receive some comfort from your fluffy cat or your sweet dog? Absolutely. But as I said on Sunday, when was the last time your dog spoke back to you and offered you truth? Maybe there's something nice to lay your head on, but they've never spoken back to you in an existential way to remind of truth. And so one of the ways that we answer that is the relationship. That's why it's not good for man to be alone. Is the relational aspect. I would extend that to maybe some more of the practical ways. Man can't fulfill being fruitful and multiplying by himself. You cannot be fruitful without the opposite sex.
Yeah. I think you see that in Adam's worshipful response after he brings woman to him as well. One of the first words out of his mouth are "at last." Like, he has this longing within him that God's put within him, that he just created in this way that it's not good. God says it explicitly, and then Adam knows it and expresses it at last. Thank you, Lord, for fulfilling this need that you gave me. I had this need. There was no way at all that I could have fulfilled this need through anything else, but what I had a need of, you provided for me.
Mm-hmm.
He fulfills that longing that he creates us with, a good longing. One that I totally agree with the Trinitarian look at it, that we were created to not be alone. There's this aspect of, we've talked about singleness before.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are called to be single. I think that's a pretty rare thing. But even within that, God would still say it's not good that you're alone. That's why I've given you the body of Christ. And so you've got this humans are not supposed to be alone, but especially Christians are not supposed to be alone either.
Mm-hmm.
So God created each of us with this longing to be a part of something greater that's connected to him, that's fulfilled by him, and ultimately fulfilled by Jesus by adopting us into his family, that we're not alone anymore. We're not isolated. We're not out here by ourselves, that God brings us in and adopts us because of the blood of his son that was able to ransom us into his family.
Mm-hmm.
What about the fact that 100% of conflict comes from connecting with other humans?
And
Yeah.
you're getting into chapter 3 now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be easier to not have a relationship with others?
Sometimes.
Talk about that. I mean,
Yeah.
This seems to be talking exactly opposite of avoiding relationship.
Yeah.
It essentially says you
Oh, yeah.
have to pursue relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
have no conflict if we didn't have relationship.
Yeah, like Thomas said, Genesis 3 provides clarity on where that conflict comes from. At the end of chapter 2, man and woman are naked and unashamed, and Genesis 3, man and woman sin, and they cover themselves. And so that begins first, maybe primarily or predominantly with man being separated from God. When conflict is inevitable in life. However, it seems that when I am as in tune with the Spirit as I need to be, that doesn't mean that conflict is gone, but it does seem like conflict is less. And so sin has broken peace vertically between us and God and horizontally, relationally. And that's one of the consequences, one of the products of sin marking who we are.
Would you guys agree with the idea that when humans are in a relationship with another human, they're stronger and can accomplish more than they can on their own?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But that's ultimately because we're created by the one who's going to sustain us in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is Genesis 3 all over again, where God created them to be together, and it wasn't a disobedience against one another that broke the relationship that man and woman had. It was disobedience against God that broke that.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're better together, and there's a worldwide, probably agreement on that. I mean, people come together to fight wars because they know that being alone is bad.
Right.
But the goodness that God created for man not to be alone, and the fulfillment of that is only fully realized whenever we're connected with and in good communion with the giver of that.
Yeah.
Separated and in disobedience to that one breaks that, therefore breaks this.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of an order here, vertical, then horizontal. Horizontal, there's a common grace, I believe, that, we can do great things together. A lot of great things happen right now. Like technology is because people have come together and shared ideas, right? You can look at a lot of things in this world because of that. There's a common grace. But ultimately, that can only be fully realized in the one who gives that good communion.
In Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel shows us that at the same time, because of sin, sometimes we can come together for the wrong reasons.
That's right.
That's what we see in the Tower of Babel. I think God even says, how does he say it? He says something to the degree of, if they, I wish I could remember the exact verse, but he talks about
There's nothing that they won't be able to
there's
do.
nothing they won't be able to do, and that doesn't seem
Right.
like a positive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're building a tower to try to reach into the heavens, and God is recognizing, oh, all these people are coming together, and that's actually, going awry. That's not a good thing either. And so, sin affects, everything.
But that was also because of their purpose for coming together.
Yeah.
Their purpose for coming together
Yeah.
was to make a name for themselves.
Right.
That they may build something great and say, look at us.
Yeah.
Rather than say, wow, look what we've created.
Yeah.
Because God has brought us together
Yeah.
and done this.
Which is
that's the
which
great
is
part.
I think brings us back to that's why I believe marriage ought to be built on the foundation of Christ, because even if it's just a man and a woman getting married and they're doing it for selfish reasons, that can cause a lot more havoc than that can be a negative thing. And so building on the right foundation is very vital.
That brings a whole nother topic, though. A man and woman getting married, two people getting married, to some degree, it's because they have selfish desires.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you work through that?
Well, the Christian understanding is that two Christians marry each other. This is where, we would still affirm that don't be unequally yoked.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't. My understanding is that doesn't have anything to do today with ethnicity or race or nationality. It has everything to do with faith and the foundation. And so when two Christians come together, that's a beautiful thing. There's agreement. That doesn't mean there's no conflict, but there's at least some foundation of here's how we're going to handle conflict. Yes, there are selfish desires in me, and some of those selfish desires may even be part of what's causing me to marry you right now. However, are we on the right foundation of our marriage is built on Christ?
Yeah.
How are we going to deal with this conflict?
Yeah.
I'm going to be quick to forgive, quick to confess, quick to hear, slow to speak, all those things. And so I think that's an important aspect.
Yeah, I mean, in the fall, you see that God's created these great blessings. Like children are meant to be a blessing. Marriage is supposed to be a blessing. Work is meant to be a blessing that God's created for us. He's given all these things as a good blessing. But when sin enters the equation, when we separate from God and say, on my own, that's when those blessings become tainted with evil, with evil desires. So I think, when Adam sees, it's like, where's one that is like me? Like God's put that desire in his heart. I think the same desires God puts in the hearts of man, that it's not good for you to be alone, so be married. I've created you to multiply. That's a good thing. Created you to do good work. That's a good thing. But when sin enters the equation for us, that's when we see marriages go awry and evil intent happen within marriage. There's still this good thing within marriage. Like marriage, even between unbelievers, is a good thing, but it's not to the full extent of what God created it to be. Like it's just this little glimpse of what it could be, fully realized in Christ. It's this foundation that you're talking about is where we see God's blessings come from, rather than evil intent.
So relationship, good, bad, neutral?
Good.
Great.
Any closing thoughts about any of this? It's not good for man to be alone?
I mean, I would say get married, have kids, seek God.
Yeah.
I thought we were closing here, but you kind of opened a little can of worms in a way. So you said get married. There's a lot of single people looking. What would you say to those people? It seems like they're looking and just can't find anyone.
Yeah. Your desire to be married is good. If you're not desiring it, ask God, unless you already have, ask God to make it clear that this is the life you're called to, the life of singleness, because there's a context for that too in the scriptures. And the context for that is in order to enable you to be fruitful in a spiritual way. There's for singles, the be fruitful and multiply is not inapplicable to you. It's still very much applies to you. Paul talks about being a spiritual father and having spiritual sons. Paul was a single man, and he is just as faithful in the mandate to be fruitful and multiply from a spiritual way. Maybe more practically, if you're single and you want to be married, stop looking for the perfect person. Don't be so picky. That's very difficult. It's very hard, especially because most of the singles that most of us know, when we think about a single, I don't think about a 19-year-old kid. Okay. That person, we had a friend who, when he was 20, broke up with a girlfriend and was so distraught that he just came to this ultimate conclusion, I guess God's just calling me a single. And I remember even then being like, bro, you're 20. To just you get out of this season of darkness of your girlfriend breaking your heart. And that guy's married today and has children. And so a lot of this, when we talk about singleness, I would say we're somewhat abstractly, we're thinking of maybe people who are older. We're thinking of people in their, I know that when someone gets into their 30s and they're single, things feel a lot more consequential at that time. It's like, okay, I really desire this. And that desire that you have is given to you by God. God will make it clear if, I believe, God will make it clear to you if singleness is what you're called to. But if you have that desire, then don't look for the perfect person. Keep pursuing that. Open yourself up to. Don't get desperate, right? I mean,
that almost sounds contradictory. Don't get desperate,
right.
But don't look for perfection.
Don't look for the perfect person, but also don't get desperate.
I think part of this comes too with counsel within the church as well. Like, I'm a big advocate for go talk to your pastors and seek counsel. Go talk with married couples that have been married for a long time that see God together. That ask them what am I doing anything wrong? Should I be looking in different places? What kind of person should I be looking for? Because sometimes you get in this mindset that you can't get out of, and you just need a little bit of outside counsel from godly people in your life. Mm-hmm. And so get that from a pastor, get that from other men and women within your church who seek the Lord and have good God-honoring marriages. I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, and don't be idle. Don't be idle in that season. Again, be fruitful and multiply, make disciples.
So you say don't be idle. I think that's actually some great advice that you're coming on right here.
The singles that I know personally are not that. They're not idle. The singles that I know are very much faithful in this season of their longing and their waiting. They're faithful to the church. They're faithful to in what they're doing in all aspects. So married people need counsel too, by the way.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I want to touch on that don't be idle real quick. So you talked about don't be idle, continue to serve in the church and serve God, but should you be idle waiting on the person of your dreams, if you will, or should you also be active there looking for somebody?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's totally fine. I think the church should facilitate that more. I like churches that are facilitating places for singles to connect, not just in some kind of cheesy Sunday school class, but actually in fun ways.
Sunday school classes are great too.
Sunday school classes are great. Let's have a dance. Let's have a party.
Just a mixer.
A mixer. What I've heard people saying. So I think that's totally fine and acceptable.
All right, pastors. Any closing thoughts? We're really going to close it this time.
Yeah. No closing thoughts for me.
No more closing thoughts. All right. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, go ahead and write those down below. We'll try to address those, and don't forget to subscribe.